Hi, everybody, and welcome to our Acceleration program. I'm Steve Farrell with Humanities Team coming to you live from our studio in Boulder, Colorado. And you can see my guest here on the screen. And who might this be? Yeah, and everybody knows this is Neil Donald Walsh in the flesh. I'm going to give him a proper introduction here in just a moment. Real excited about this program. These are live. Neil's coming to you live from his home in Ashland, Oregon. And as I mentioned, I'm coming to you live from Boulder, Colorado. And wow, we have a lot to share here during the hour. Let me just start by welcoming everybody. So welcome to all of the Humanities Stream Plus members, the Humanities Team members, those at humanities.team, those out on Facebook. Also a big welcome to Neil Donald Walsh's friends on Facebook. And a big welcome to all of the Sign Network, where we're broadcasting out to these other websites that are part of the Sign Network, and John Raymer. So a big shout out to all of you. Thanks for being here with us. Now, like every week, we do have comments and questions coming to us here right in the studio. So as you're watching this program, if you have questions for Neil or you want to just make a comment, write it out on Facebook or from wherever you might be. And those comments and questions are flowing into us here in the studio. We'll bring them to Neil. So be sure to shout out so you can talk to Neil directly. Okay, now the theme of our program today is the interconnected soul. So let me give Neil a proper introduction. Neil Donald Walsh is the celebrated author of the Conversations with God series and a modern-day spiritual messenger. Neil is a longtime and dear friend of mine and Humanities Team, and has been with Humanities Team, of course, since day one as the founder. I'm a co-founder with Neil of Humanities Team. Neil's books and teachings have served to help millions of people develop a modern sense of God and to build the connection between themselves and the divine. I have Neil with me to discuss the interconnected soul in celebration of his new free video program, Divining Your Destiny, and the masterclass called Discover Your Soul's Purpose that were produced in collaboration with Michael Bernard Beckwith and Humanities Team. And welcome to the program, Neil. Great to have you with us.
Thank you, Steve. It's lovely to be here as always. And it's exciting as well to know that so many people from around the world will be joining us here to explore these topics, which I think are important, not only to the individual who might be watching, but in the larger sense, important to the world. So thank you for allowing me to be here with you and inviting me to do so.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's always a total pleasure to be with you, Neil. And thank you for setting the time aside to be here with us live today. So, and let me just share, we're gonna, as we start unfurling kind of this topic and things we're gonna get to, this is not gonna be just a bunch of big abstract notions. We're gonna get to real practical implications of all of this when we talk about soul and oneness and these various things. Now, let me, as we start to talk about this, we have a free program. It's called Divining Your Destiny. And then there's this brand new masterclass. These are actually both brand new. First time that Neil Donald Walsh and Michael Bernard Beckwith have created two programs together like this. We just launched this program on Saturday. So it's all brand new, and there were our friends all over the world were excited about picking it up and talking to their audiences about the program. I can see why, as we're coming out of COVID, to be talking about divining your destiny, or to be talking about discovering your soul's purpose. And of course, you have a way, Neil, that you like to talk about that, huge, because people coming out of COVID are searching for meaning and they're searching for purpose. And they want to be doing things more aligned with their deeper values. This whole notion of just punching the clock and going to work and coming home, and is I think more and more people are kind of finding that to be an old thing, and they're wanting something new that feels more meaningful. So exciting to be talking about this here. Now, one thing I want to say about these programs, I mentioned it's the first time that Neil and Michael have collaborated on something like this, but also we poll our community, the Humanities Team community, to ask them what programs they'd like to see. And for 2 years running, their first choice and their second choice was discovering your soul's purpose. They wanted us to put a program together like this. So this was a case where the program was designed really by you, viewers, people on the conscious journey, that said, this is important. Create a program like this. And then when we thought about our dream team of who might be the faculty for this, of course, Neil and Michael surfaced. Can you imagine two just more incredible faculty members to do something like this? So Neil, we're just tickled to be and privileged to be working with you and Michael on an important program like this, programs plural like this.
Well, the feeling, of course, is mutual. I'm very excited and honored to have the opportunity, especially to work with someone like Michael. You're quite right about him. He's an extraordinary human being, deeply deeply connected is the word I'm looking for, deeply connected with life's higher truths and with ways in which we can implement those truths in our daily life. He's a remarkable individual, and I learned just sitting next to him, listening to him. It's impossible not to have that experience if you spend just a few moments with someone like Michael. So I appreciate the opportunity to join in this process, and thank you for allowing me to do so. Could I make an opening comment about the idea of discovering your soul's purpose?
Please do. Yeah.
I've often felt that I wanted to discover my soul's purpose. Most of us have some kind of a feeling surrounding that through the years. But when I had my conversations with God, I was told, Neil, life is not a process of discovery. It's a process of creation. And so that turned everything around in my own personal experience. It doesn't have to be what's your truth, but it is my truth, that life is a process of discovery. So I kind of like to think of it in just a slightly different way, not so much discovering your soul's purpose, but creating your soul's purpose. Because the idea of discovering your soul's purpose suggests, there's a nuance there that suggests there's a purpose for me out there somewhere. Maybe God has assigned me this purpose, or it exists somewhere in my soul's awareness, and I just can't figure out what it is. So we start searching for it, trying to figure out what would it take for my soul to reveal to me my soul's purpose, and what would it take for God to reveal to me what God's purpose is for me. But God made it very clear to me, Neil, do you really think I'm sitting here with an idea of what I think you would best be doing in the world, and I'm just not telling you? I'm letting you sit there trying to figure it out? Look at those poor people down there trying to figure it out. Well, I could just simply tell them, but no, that would make it all too easy. I'll just let them struggle for 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years trying to figure it out. Then they'll get on a program with Steve Farrell, and it'll all become very clear to them. That's not how God works. I'm sorry. If that's how you think it is, that's not how, in my awareness, that's not how it is. When I said to God, what's my purpose? God said to me, tell me. I said, no, you tell me. And she said, no, you tell me. And I said, no, you're the one who knows. And she said, no, you're the one who knows. Do you really think that I'm sitting here and that I have created and assigned a purpose to every sentient being in the cosmos? Or do you think really that as the divine being that I am, as the higher power, that what I have done is empower you to decide what your soul's purpose is going to be, and then to implement it and activate it in your life? So I want to begin my own contribution to this moment with you by sharing with you that I don't think that your purpose is something you discover. I think it's something that you create. I think it's something that you decide on. But how? How to make that decision? That becomes the question. And I hope we can get really deeply into my particular answer for that, because that could, in fact, change your life and change the lives of many people around you.
Yes, it could and does. And that's what this whole series is about, is that whole process, which you and Michael lay out so beautifully, course, we record these programs because half of our viewers are in the United States, half are out of the United States. And so when we create a new masterclass like this, we record it. There's 16 programs, and then they're live mentoring sessions, one with Neil, one with Michael, so that people all over the world can participate when it's convenient for them. So, and so we, of course, we have been on site as this has been recorded, and it's astonishing, really, the wisdom that Neil and Michael bring to this really very important topic. Let's go to this. There's a 3-minute segment that we've cut out from Divining Your Destiny. So this is this free program that is available now to the public. If you go to humanitiesteam.org and just scroll down a little bit, you'll see a little promotion for Divining Your Destiny, and you just leave your name and email, and then you can immediately bring up the full hour-long program. So let's go to a 3-minute segment, and then Neil and I are going to come back and talk about it.
Conversations with God says over and over and over again, we are all one. What does this have to do with the soul and the soul's calling?
Everything. And it has everything to do with life. And the main reason that life on earth has not been as joyful or pleasant or wonderful as it was designed to be, if I could use that turn of phrase, as it could be, is that we have not embraced largely the idea of our unity, of our oneness. We've, in fact, the human race has, in largest measure, from my observation, I could be wrong about this, but it looks to me as if the largest number of people on the earth have bought into the notion of separation. And separation, the idea that you're over there and I'm over here, and not just between me and other people, between me and the trees, me and the world, me and the stars, to say nothing of me and God. The idea that things are separate from each other, excuse me, is what has produced the experience of alienation. I've not seen alienation on this planet in my lifetime at the level I'm observing it these days, ever in my previous years. And I'm an old guy. And I look around and I see people alienated from each other by their political differences, by their economic differences, by their spiritual differences, by their racial differences, by their sexual orientation differences, by every difference they could imagine. And they're allowing the differences to separate them from each other, and even, interestingly enough, psychologically speaking, to separate them from themselves. And so I think that the opportunity for us is to say to human beings everywhere, and I don't mean by preaching, I don't mean by giving lectures, I don't mean by talking, but by the way we're moving through the world, by the way we're being, to say to each other, we are all one. There really is no separation between us. I love Michael for a ton of reasons, but you know, I can always tell when he's on the other end of the phone, because the first thing out of his mouth is, "How you doing, brother?" And you know, I don't want to get emotional here, but when he says, "How are you, brother?" he's not just saying it pro forma. He actually lives, "You are my brother." And that vibration comes over the phone. It comes right over the space between us. And so when you found that brotherhood and that sisterhood with every other aspect of life, I've become a tree hugger, you know. I have. I got into the force. I can actually put my arms around the tree.
Yes.
And I say, "How you doing there today, pal?" You know, and because I want the tree to know that I am very clear that there's no real separation between us.
Okay, fantastic. Wow. Well,
Yeah, and Michael, of course, couldn't shut up. He just was blabbing on and on and on and on. And all that great wisdom from Michael is, you know, palpable in the space. It's unbelievable.
right. No, it was, what an incredible conversation. So that was a 3-minute segment from a 60-minute program called Divining Your Destiny. If you go to humanitiesteam.org, you'll see where you just leave your name and email address, and you can watch this free program. It's actually available instantly, or you can watch later if you want to set a date and time. Truly an astounding program. I got to be the moderator of this, and boy, Neil, the level of just your personal vulnerability and also Michael's personal vulnerability as you were sharing your stories. And of course, I've known you, Neil, for 20 years now, and I've known Michael a good while, but to be in a room when you all were sharing, what happened to you back in the day as this whole conversation with God thing got started. And then Michael shared his story when he was in college and what that experience was like. And oh my God, I mean, you could have heard a pin drop as you were sharing your story, and Michael was sharing his story of how the unlikely way that both of you grew into who you've become in today's world.
Yeah, and without wanting to repeat that, because I really encourage people to watch the program. You really will enjoy it and get a lot out of it. But the short form of it is, and most people who've read Conversations with God know all about it. I wound up living on the sidewalk as a street person. I hate to put it this way, but I thought I was a pretty smart guy. I never went to college. I wasn't smart enough to stay in college. The dean of men invited me to leave because it was clear I didn't want to be studying for 4 more years. I wanted to get into the world of work. I was in broadcasting and I wanted to be in radio. So I did that. And however, after a little while, life turned out in interesting ways. And finally, I wound up, in fact, living on the sidewalk. Most of you know this part of the story. That is, I was out of money and out of work. I had been downsized by the corporation that hired me. And then at the same time, my relationship began to worsen, and that fell apart. My relationship with my significant other, a lovely, lovely lady that didn't deserve to be stuck with the likes of me. And then I had an automobile accident in the same week as all this was happening, in which I broke my neck. And it wasn't a small fracture. It wasn't a hairline fracture. I had a 3/4 inch avulsion fracture of the 7 cervical vertebrae posteriorly. In other words, that was a break in my neck large enough to put a pencil through. And the doctor was saying to me, "You're lucky to be alive." But that kind of an experience where you lose everything, your relationship, your job, and your health all at the same week, you wake up and realize, okay, obviously there's something I don't understand here, the understanding of which would change everything. And it makes the average person call out, it certainly made me call out to God, what is it you want from me? What is it that I don't understand? That's what caused me to begin my conversation with God. And at the bottom line, to bring it down quickly, the bottom line was, Neil, I get that you think that you're separate from everything else, that you're out there all by yourself. I threw you out there, seeds in the wind, and good luck, have a good life. I hope you do well. But I completely misunderstood my relationship with myself, with God, and with life, and of course, with other people. Everything changed when I changed my mind about who I am, why I'm here, and the opportunity that life is giving me to demonstrate my highest thought about that. This is what's interesting. This is going to sound self-serving. Please forgive me. I don't mean to be breaking my arm, patting myself on the back. I really don't, but I've got to say it. It takes personal courage to live into the highest thought you ever had about yourself. Because I don't know about you, but I was told as a child, you're to be seen and not heard. I was told as a child it wasn't okay to say anything out loud. Maybe you could have inner thoughts about yourself, but you're not supposed to tell anybody. You're not supposed to act like it. But in fact, you are. In a graceful, kind way, not in an arrogant way, but in a gentle way. We are encouraged to speak our truth about our highest self and to demonstrate it. And all of the great spiritual masters, and I'm not one of them, but we know who they are, all the great spiritual masters throughout history have done exactly that. They've been gentle demonstrations of the grandest truth, which is who they are in relationship to God and what they choose to offer when they understand their true identity. But you can't begin to understand what you want to offer until you are embracing your true identity. So my challenge to all of you today is, Are you able to be with yourself in the quiet moment of your life and to say to yourself, I'm an individuation of divinity. I am an individuation of divinity. And I have an opportunity to demonstrate any aspect of divinity that I might choose in all the moments of my life. And then I can actually focus in on those aspects of divinity that bring me the greatest pleasure to experience, to demonstrate, and to express. That's the process in a couple of sentences. So if I was with you privately, we were doing a private coaching session, I would invite you right now to just fill in the blank on the following sentence. Just write this down on your piece of paper and fill in the blank. I am happiest and I feel the most fulfilled when I am being, and then fill in the blank. Now, be careful. I didn't say when I am doing. This is not a doingness function. This is a beingness function. But look to see what you are happiest being what, and then give it a name. And I'm going to ask you, if you do this exercise with yourself this week, I'm going to invite you not to use the words love or God. Take those two off the table because they're huge. They're such huge words. I'm happiest when I'm being divine. Okay. I'm happiest when I'm being loved. Okay. But the words are so huge that it doesn't help you to get focused on what particular energetic interaction causes you to feel the most fulfilled. So don't use those two words, but use any other words that you wish to use, any other aspects of divinity. I am happiest and most fulfilled when I am being, That will provide you with insight into how you can create your soul's purpose. I could, of course, be wrong about all of this.
Yeah, beautiful, Neil. And let me say this too, for people that on the chance of people from Wall Street or from Silicon Valley or from just some business, wherever it might be around the world, that we're looking at this conversation and saying, that's interesting, but I'm not sure that this has a lot to do with me. I'm not sure this is a priority. I'm not sure this is important. It's just kind of blah, blah, blah. And to anybody that might be thinking that, you might be familiar with this notion of afterlife review. It's more, and there are more and more people that have had these experiences of going to the afterlife and then coming back, these near-death experiences, and they all say the same thing. There's an afterlife review, and we're looking at, through other people's eyes, a reaction to us when we were with them in important moments of our life. You know what? The money that we're earning, the car we're driving, the home we live in, there's just nothing there. There is nothing there in the afterlife review. The entire afterlife review are these things that Neil's talking about of what expression of divinity were you? How patient, how loving, how kind, how listening, on and on. These are the things. So if there were anybody, and this is a conscious audience, so I know most people are following along with me and saying, I know I get it, but for those that aren't on the conscious journey, there's nothing more important, actually, let me just say, than what we're talking about now. There's nothing more relevant, more practical, more prioritized than what we're talking about, because we're getting right down into why we embodied, and as in this whole return to the afterlife and come back to embodiment. This is what it's about, and I know in my own journey, one of the things I learned about myself is I had my ladder, it's sometimes this whole metaphor of it was against the wrong wall, the American dream thing of where we're going to get the top line growth, we're going to get the bottom line growth. And actually I was trying to do some nice things in community too, and had open book management and things, but still, I was leading a business, a for-profit business with top and bottom line growth foremost. And then I could see, oh my God, as these ancient truths and wisdom truths were revealed, what the heck am I doing with my ladder over there?
If we're lucky, we wake up somewhere in our 30th or 40th or 50th year, One day we wake up, look at the wall, even before getting out of bed. We just look at the wall, on the side of the room, and we think, really? Am I going to be doing this for the rest of am I going to retire from this? Is this what I'm going to be doing until I'm 65 or 70 years old? And then maybe I can reap the rewards somehow or another. And if we're unlucky and not so lucky, when we are breathing our last breaths, if we're conscious and know what's going on, we'll have the experience of thinking, none of it mattered. None of that stuff that I worked so hard at creating and accumulating mattered. It was unimportant. My sainted mother used to say to me, and this is a true story, when I'd come home as a young man with difficulties and challenges, and she'd look at me and she'd say, sweetheart, if you think when you're 95 years old and you're still alive, rocking on your rocking chair on the front porch, rocking back and forth, if you think this is going to still be important to you then, make it important now. But look deeply at what you think is going to be important when you're 95, sitting on the porch, rocking back and forth, if you're even still with us. So I just want to echo and amplify what Steve has just said. I can't think of a single person, frankly, that I've known who has achieved a modicum of financial and other kinds of creative success in their life. They've had all the accoutrement, all the furnishings of success. And then they wake up one day and they go, so what? I mean, obviously that's what's so. Not so obviously, it's also so what? Now, if you're lucky, you'll come to that before you're an old guy with white hair like me. If you're lucky, you'll get to that when you're 35 or 40 or even earlier, and you'll stop in your tracks and you'll say, what really, really matters? By the way, just out of coincidence, I happen to write a book called The Only Thing That Matters, in which a lot of this is discussed. So please, I hope you're paying attention and decide. Now, here's where everything ties together. You might think, in fact, if you're on Wall Street or head of a large business or leading a life where you're powerful and successful in whatever you're doing, you might say none of this really impacts or has any relationship to your own daily life experience. You might be one of those who's saying that. But if you step into what we're sharing with you here and what you'll learn more about in this program that Michael and I put together, you will discover that that's the key. And here's the irony, that almost always brings you all that you thought you were striving and searching and yearning for, but it's not the bottom line. It's just part of the great blessings of life. But the bottom line will be a sense of who you are and what you're bringing to the world that will make you feel joyful and fulfilled beyond anything you might have previously thought was possible. But you don't have to give up. Last sentence, if I could, you don't have to give up this to have that. So it's not about, oh, I guess I can't have my job. I guess I can't focus on my success in the world. I guess I'm going in the wrong direction. No, you're not going in the wrong direction, but you're going in only one direction. And there's more than one direction. There's more than one way to the mountaintop. And when you put the two together, now we're talking about unified approach to life that can change everything, not only in your life, but in the lives of all those whose life you touch.
Amen. And this is the conscious journey that we're talking about. And Humanities Team, when it was founded, June 2003, so almost 19 years ago, and Neil and I were there in Oregon launching Humanities Team. This was what it was launched to talk about, is this whole conscious journey where we understand this whole oneness thing and unity with divine and all of life and all of this. We had a guest on the program last Friday, Adam Hall, who's a dear friend, and Adam was also very honest on the program. He was talking about his earlier years in business, and he said it started with Tums in the morning and tequila at night. And he said it was not a very pleasant life. He actually made quite a bit of money. He was very financially successful. But
Cubs in the morning, tequila at night, and M&Ms in between.
there you go. So if there's anybody on the unconscious that's on the American Dream unconscious journey thing, boy, I just invite you to pay thoughtful attention. And I know our demographic is conscious, so the things Neil and I are talking about have priority. So the program that we watched just a moment ago is called Divining Your Destiny. So it's on, Humanities team has created this conscious streaming platform. It's revolutionary. It's the only thing like it in the whole world. It's extraordinary. And when you go to humanitiesteam.org/stream, or just go to humanitiesteam.org and then you click on Become a Member and you'll go through to the platform, you'll see all of these programs with Neil Donald Walsh and Barbara Marks Hubbard and Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton and on and on. There are hundreds of programs, and it's a streaming platform. So that means that you can watch from your Roku and on your television, or from Amazon Fire, or from Apple TV. You can watch it from any platform. Here we're just scrolling now some of the master classes. And now here we come into the additional transformational education programs, and you'll see health and healing and yoga and food and movies, all of these kinds of things. This new program that we're creating, the free program, Divining Your Destiny, and then Discover Your Soul's Purpose, are on this streaming platform. And this was created, again, we're a nonprofit organization, so our whole thing is about creating reach and impact, just to supporting people, nurturing people in their conscious journey. I'll tell you, you won't watch a lot of TV or even mindless movies after you spend time with these master classes. My wife and I now are routinely in here weekdays, weekends. It's extraordinary the wisdom that you walk away from just watching one or two of these modules, and it's like potato chips. So if you come on, it's a little more than $1 a day, by the way. So if you watch one program, it's like potato chips, you're going to go watch another and another and another. And it's a 12-month subscription, so you can get through 20 or 30 or 40. There are hundreds. You can't get through them all. And we add a new program every week right now. So you couldn't get through them all if you tried. So it's called Humanity Stream Plus. The plus is because there are things that aren't just the instruction here that are included. This program with Neil includes, for example, live mentoring. So you're invited to a live 60-minute mentoring program with Neil, and then a live 60-minute mentoring program with Michael Bernard Beckwith. Right now, we're in Accelebration. We're going to invite, there's a room for the Humanity Stream Plus members, a VIP room where we invite them to come on camera. And if any of you want to come on camera, raise your hand, let us know. You can come on camera, and Neil will be able to talk to you directly. And then we do watch parties. So this program right now, Discover Your Soul's Purpose, we're going to go look at a segment here in just a moment. But a lot of people actually enjoy watching these together with their friends or with people they don't know. And so we do 2 watch parties a week where you can come in and watch the program and then just get into dialogue, into conversation with people that are watching it with you. So, and then there are other live programs. We're going to start bringing vegan cooking programs and other programs to stream as well. So, okay, let's just go over now, watch a 3-minute segment from Discover Your Soul's Purpose. We'll talk about that. There are a bunch of comments and questions coming in. So thank you, viewers. We're going to get to them. And if anybody in the Humanity Stream Plus room want to come on camera with Neil, put your hand up and we'll have you come in with Neil too. So let's go to the segment here now.
Who do you think you are? Do you think that you're a physical life form? Not much different from a bird in the sky or a fish in the sea? More complex, perhaps, more sophisticated than many other life forms on the planet. But when all is said and done, are you essentially nothing more than a biological entity made up of a body and a mind? Or Do you see yourself as more than that? Do you see yourself as a spiritual being, having a body and a mind, and using your body and mind as tools, pieces of equipment with which to accomplish certain things? Could it be that you're a special kind of being, a unique entity, expressing physically and metaphysically at the same time, and for the same reason? Now, if that's your truth, and if it is a truth that you hold not just conceptually, but functionally, you have then created a container in which can be held the keys that unlock your soul's purpose. So let's take a look at the options that you have here. Seems to me that there will be entirely different ways of not only seeing yourself, but experiencing your life when you consider these two questions, depending on which of these two choices you make. So we're not talking here about a decision that's insignificant. Let's look at choice number one. If you conceive of yourself as a chemical creature, that is a logical outcome of a biological process engaged in by two other biological processes called your father and your mother, if you see yourself that way, you would see yourself as having no more connection to the larger processes of life than any other chemical or biological life form. You might consider yourself smarter, perhaps, a bit more mentally capable and able. But after looking at things closely, you would see that, like all the other biological life forms, you would be impacted by life, but could have very little impact on life.
Nice. A lot of wisdom there, Neil. So this was a little segment from what, again, Neil has 8 modules. One of, actually 2 modules of the 16 are with Michael, and then he has 7 of his own. This was a little 3-minute cutout from one of Neil's modules in Discover Your Soul's Purpose. So nice comparison there, huh, Neil? So I can't hear Neil. I don't know if, okay.
My
So-
bad. My bad. I turned off my microphone while I was watching the program. I was going to say yes. And if you see yourself as a spiritual entity and not simply a physical entity, it opens up a whole new way of expressing who you really are, because you have a whole new way of understanding and holding who you really are. The question brings up a lot of questions, a ton of questions. If you see yourself as a spiritual being, the question becomes, what am I doing here? If I really am, let's look at it just for a second. If I really am a spiritual entity, having a body and a mind, fair enough, but if at my basis I'm really a spiritual entity, why in the world would I come here? Why would I allow myself to experience what I'm experiencing in the physical world? Of course, that's a question in one form or another that every human being has been asking from the beginning of time. We all have been wondering some form of that question. What is this all about? Why am I here? If you really want me to believe that I'm a spiritual entity and that life goes on forever, why have I come here? And I want to share with you that you've come here for a very particular reason, that you could in fact create your soul's destiny, that you could expand an experience of who you really are for the purpose of evolving and becoming a greater and greater version of what life always intended for your soul to be. Now, if you think this is your only chance to do that, that would be, I think, in my view, an error. You've had many chances before, and you'll have many chances after this particular incarnation, which is a whole nother topic. Nevertheless, this particular incarnation, that is your lifetime, as you're living it right here, right now, provides you with an extraordinary opportunity an extraordinary moment in time in which you can express and experience the highest thought you ever had about who you are. And when you do that, you will feel a sense of yourself that you may never have felt before. A little warning. I've had the experience of sometimes thinking, maybe I'm being a little bit spiritually arrogant. Maybe I'm thinking, could I put it this way, too much of myself. It's impossible to think too much of yourself. It's not impossible to act in ways that could cause you to sound arrogant, or that could make it difficult for other people to receive the energy you wish to send. But if you're really acting divinely, you would never do that. You could find yourself saying something quite extraordinary. This is a little tool that I've invited people to use if they want to find a way to move through the world in some of these ways that we're describing here. This is what I call the Self-Affirmation Tool. It's something that I invite people to say, actually, in their mind to themselves. Don't say it out loud, because if you say it out loud, some people may not understand. And they might even give you a little problem with regard to it. They'll either marginalize you or make fun of you, or they might even become angry with you. But say it in your mind. It's an inward mental process, okay? And here's how it goes. Whenever I see anyone for the first time in any day, whether it's my beloved across the pillow, my friend across the room, my neighbor across the street, or a stranger across the world, when I see anyone for the first time on any given day, I say these words to myself. I have come that you may have life, and that you may have it more abundantly. Your life will be made better today from my having passed through it. I promise you.
Beautiful. So, and what if there were an opportunity in a lifetime to do course correction, and if there's this real reason for life, and it maybe has to do with self-realization, and there were an opportunity somewhere in that lifetime to just get a little course correction where we're maybe off track, maybe pointed in a direction that is other than our long-term interest and well-being, and boom, just course correct back toward what life is really about, what on our eternal journey, what really is going to matter. That's what we're talking about here now. So it's the furthest thing from people saying, looking at the two of us and saying, boy, that's kind of interesting, but it's sort of over there, and I don't really have time for that now. I would suggest this is like if the whole planet of 7.7 billion could tune in just even for 10 minutes of this discussion to talk about this little course correction opportunity where we're talking about discovering your soul's purpose, to divining your destiny, to just getting on track with what our eternal life is really about as spiritual beings in a spiritual universe. God, it would be the most amazing gift to the 7.7 billion people. I really believe that's true.
I couldn't agree with you more. And here's what we have to be aware of. My dear friends, sometimes, not always, not in every case, but once in a while, those so-called course corrections, and I love the phrase that Steve chose there, sometimes those course corrections can look like small failures in your life, could look like things have gone wrong, something has occurred. And like the course correction that I experienced when I was downsized by the company that I worked for, or when some gentleman crashed into my car and I wound up with a broken neck. I would call that a course correction. Now, the course corrections don't have to be that dramatic in your life, but pay attention to what's occurring and to what's not occurring, and judge not and neither condemn. As someone way before me said in a far more eloquent way, raise not your fist to heaven and curse the darkness not, but be a light unto the darkness, that you might know who you really are. So pay attention to those little course corrections. When something isn't falling into place in some of the ways you thought that it might, just step back for a minute and say, wait a minute, is there more going on here than meets the eye? Is something occurring that I really do want to pay attention to? Is this an opportunity for me to correct the course that I've been taking in my life? Take a look at that. And don't feel bad when things don't work out. Sometimes it's exactly the moment that your soul has been waiting for to signal to you, here's an opportunity for you to change your destiny.
Yes, this whole thing we've all experienced of where we're thinking, oh my God, it's falling apart. And no, it's falling together is what's happening. So now there's Julia Garcia wanted to come on camera to make a comment. So Julia, if you're still available, and Jim Gray is our director producer here, there's a way to bring her on camera. Fantastic. We've got other, oh, here we go.
Yes,
Julia, nice to see you.
hi, thank you for having me. Thank
Yeah,
you.
our pleasure.
I just wanted to thank Neil for his books. I grew up always knowing I was different. And because of being different, no matter how chaotic everything was around me, it made sense because I was able to see past it. I didn't understand why. When I read his books, it made me cry because everything came together. I understood myself, and I am the youngest of 8 children. I used to protect my siblings, and they looked at me for that protection, for guidance. I always felt so much older, and I just had this understanding, this knowing that this was all part of our existence, that we had to go through this so that we can be who we are. Growing up, people made fun of me, and I was always that strange kid. Don't play with her. She's strange. And there was times when adults would come and talk to me, and I would just give them messages, but I had no memory of doing it. Reading his books, just everything made sense, and the guidance, the understanding, just the opening, the awakening of that's what I was trying to tell everyone, but I didn't have the words. And I just want to thank Neil for that, because in the alienation is where I found myself, and I was very comfortable there. Now I have to become uncomfortable in order to be in front of people and talk to them, because I don't want the attention. I just don't want to be noticed. Let me do what I do, being used by Creator to do what I do, and let me go. Now I'm uncomfortable, and I'm on the other spectrum, so to speak, if that makes sense, where I don't want people to look at me and see me, but see Creator through me. I'm Indigenous, and my beliefs are everything is connected. We are all one. Everyone's our brother and sister, even with the animals and the critters. But it's just Neil's books really put things in perspective for me, not just an Indigenous point of view, but in a humanity point of view. And I just want to thank him for that.
I wonder if I could offer something to you at the risk of being personal, but Julia, could I offer you something?
Please do. Please, yes.
Yeah, well, I'm contemplating how I want to put this.
I didn't know if you heard me or not.
Oh yeah, I heard every word, and I took
Okay.
it all. I took it all in. Julia, I'm going to invite you to decide to be totally comfortable with people paying attention to you, because if you want them to see Creator in you, as you, through you, they're going to pay attention to you. But if they get the vibe, if they just get a subtle feeling from you that you're not quite totally comfortable with that, then they'll turn away from you, which is the last thing I want people to do. I don't want anyone to turn away from you who encounters you in life. I want people, based on what I just heard you say, I want people to pay all the attention to you that they can possibly afford. I want people to look at you, but I need you to make me a promise that if you're going to be an example of the Creator expressing in physical life, welcome people paying attention to you. I've had to learn to welcome people paying attention to me, or I could never have been as effective as you say I have been in your life. Now I'm asking you, inviting you to do the same.
How do I do that? How did you do that?
I just decided that's part of my soul's destiny. That's part of my, as the French would say, raison d'etre. That's part of my reason for being. I am here to give people a chance to pay attention to me so that they can really see the truth of not who I am, but of who they are. And they will see that through you if you allow them to feel comfortable paying attention to you. That's your gift to the world. That's the next step in your own soul's destiny.
So,
Okay.
and Julie, I want to thank you for coming on. We've got Lloyd Menthorn is wanting to come on, and we've got all these other questions. We have 9 minutes left. Julia, thank you for being so brave as to come on camera here with us. Gratitude to you, dear friend.
Thank you very much to you and Neil. And I promise, Neil, I will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. World needs you. And thank you, Julia. And then Lloyd, if you're available on camera, you've got, would love to have you come on to ask your question. He's wrote the question out so I can bring it to Neil if he can't come on camera, but if he's available, would love to bring him on here. There we go. Hey, Lloyd.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm excited to finally talk to Neil. You've been a hero of mine for many years. And I'm really interested in developing my own sense of guidance, listening to guidance from my higher self or God or whatever. So my question is, how do you discern what are messages from God as opposed to other messages? Or if we're all one, it seems like they're all from God. I mean, what's your process? How do you know what's from God, what's from your higher self, or what might be from your ego desires or whatever?
Not that the two are necessarily antithetical, but I understand your question. The messages that I receive from God are messages that are always inevitably expansive, enlarging, fulfilling, filled with joy, peace, and love. They're never limiting in any way. They're never even, I almost want to say cautious, in the sense of stopping me from doing something or being something even more grand than I could have possibly imagined. So I know that the messages are from the highest part of God that resides within all of us, that resides within Lloyd and with me and with Steve and all the rest of us. How I know that that's where the messages are coming from is when they make me feel wonderful about myself, about life, about God, and about everyone else whose life I touch. And that's a feeling you can't deny. It's just a feeling that fills the essence of your being, whether you're alone in your room having these thoughts and these ideas, or out in the world interacting with other people. And then the real question is not whether the message came from what I call God, but whether we are willing to step into the living of it and to express it, not just when we're in our room by ourselves, but in fact, when we're out in the outer world, touching the lives of other people. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where we get to decide how much of these wonderful messages we've received we wish to become a demonstration of. But that's how I tell the difference. If the thought is limiting or frightful or stops me or it interrupts my sense of freedom with regard to who I am in the world, if the thought is limiting in any way, you know what? I just throw it out. I actually sometimes say out loud, believe it or not, Satan, get thee behind me. Satan is my acronym for seeing anything as negative. Seeing anything as negative is Satan. And I just say, you know what, Satan, get thee behind me. Get the hell out of my life. I mean, literally, get the hell out of my life.
That's awesome. And my own barometer is just in my heart. It's like, does this feel right in my heart or not? And we know that. You can just tell.
You know what? Here's the danger, Lloyd. We got to be real careful because for some people, it's almost too good to be true. I remember saying to God, actually, in the middle of the dialogue, you know what I'm hearing from you, pal? I said to God, talk to God like a really good friend. You know what I'm hearing from you, pal? It sounds almost too good to be true. And I will never forget God's response. She said, Neil, if God can't be too good to be true, who can?
I love
So,
that.
Lloyd, thank you for coming on. Well, we got about 5 minutes left, so
Thank
we'll
you.
get to a few other. Lloyd, thank you so much for just coming on camera with us. We really appreciate it.
You don't live in London, do you, Lloyd?
No.
Oh, good. Then you'd be Lloyd's of London, and that would not work well in this program.
Okay, Lloyd, thank you, and I hope to see you back here with us on a Friday Acceleration.
Bless you. I love you.
Okay, love you back. Thank you. And Neil, so this is from Aeneas. She's on your Facebook page, and she says, why do affirmations mostly fail?
They don't mostly fail for me, but affirmations are often statements of things that we can't believe. All the money I need is coming to me now, as an example. I just use a silly example. So we have to be real sure that we don't make affirmations, but confirmations. I don't do affirmations in my life. I made the point in one of the books I wrote that I've thrown the idea of affirmations out of my life. I've replaced affirmations with confirmations. And there's a difference for me. A confirmation is an announcement of myself, from myself to myself, of what is true for me. And I confirm the highest truth that I choose to experience and to express in me, through me, and as me. So the reason that affirmations seem to not work for some people is that many people seek to affirm something that they don't allow themselves to believe it. You know what? For confirmations to work, you have to believe the unbelievable. You have to actually embrace the grandest possibility. And you have to be willing to open yourself to what I want to almost call the unthinkable. You have to think the unthinkable and dream the impossible dream. It's a wonderful, you want to look up that song on the internet. Just type in Google or YouTube, go to YouTube and see who has made a presentation of that song. To dream the impossible dream.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you, Neil. And so let me just read some comments because we don't have time to bring more people on camera. Connie Baxter Marlowe is in the VIP room. She says, God wants more of us than we can fathom. Beautiful, Neil. So Connie, thank you for sure. That was beautiful. And that's one for the refrigerator for sure. Now, Terry and Matthew and Emily also have come in with comments or questions. And hey, thank you all for bringing your questions in. We can't get to all of them here today. Michael Bernard Beckwith is with us next Friday. So who's Neil's partner in this new masterclass. So you can bring Michael questions here next week. Bring your questions and comments in as early as possible. We'll try and get to them before the hour is out. So I want to thank Neil Donald Walsh for being our guest here on Acceleration today. Wow, what an incredible hour. I told you the hour was going to go fast, Neil. So we've been talking about Divining Your Destiny. It's this free program that's amazing. It's an hour-long free program. If you go to humanitiesteam.org and just scroll down, you'll enter your name, email address, and boom, just like that, you can watch it instantly. Or also, we're going to broadcast it here shortly, and Neil's going to come on to answer questions during the broadcast, so you can watch it one way or the other or both. So, and then as well, this whole Discover Your Soul's Purpose, this brand new masterclass, it's this collaboration with Michael Bernard Beckwith, Neil Donald Walsh, and Humanities Team. If you go to Humanities Stream, to that platform, it's this revolutionary streaming platform. You'll see it right there. It's part of the streaming platform, and you can either order it as a standalone masterclass or as part of Humanities Stream Plus, where you get hundreds of other programs that are with it. So go check it out. There's a guarantee period, so it's on Humanities Team. And if for some reason you opened a module and you said that isn't for me, we would, no questions asked, give you your money back. Honestly, we don't have that happen very often. I mentioned it's like potato chips. You go in, most of us on the conscious journey don't watch a lot of TV. We don't even watch a lot of mindless movies. But I'll tell you, you go in and watch a few of Neil's modules, Michael Bernard Beckwith's modules here where we talk about our soul's purpose. Wow, you're going to come back for more and more and more. Neil was saying, Neil has a beautiful young wife, and so he's not going to always be sitting there glued to his Roku, but it is the way to watch these programs when you've got a streaming platform you can watch from anywhere in your house, and kind of fun to not be sitting in front of your computer all the time. So come back to you again, Neil Donald Walsch. Thank you. Next week, we've got Michael Bernard Beckwith here with us. We start at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Join us for that. I want to thank also this team that makes these broadcasts possible. It's my partners and colleagues. So Jim Gray is the producer director. I don't know that we have the camera up, or if we do, Jim, we can pull it back. And yeah, I'm not sure we can do that today, but where you can see the whole studio. Also, Nanette Kennedy, Dee Meyer, Garth Catterall, so all of Noah, Tim Noah, who goes by Noah. So thank you to all of my partners and colleagues that make this program possible. So have a fantastic rest of the day, everybody. Peace and blessings. Namaste. And we'll be back with you live next week. Take care. Have a great weekend.